right, after a 2-week hiatus, TRP is back, firing at all cylinders with Remy, Lord Matthew, and the Rubes. The Rubes is excited to be back after we trashed on your Mets while you were gone.
Hitting third.
You're hitting third?
How was that swing?
What is that? It's shortened. It's a fake bunt.
It's a fake bunt, or you're just doing contact?
not in today's Major League Baseball.
Launch angle.
Yeah, we're going to get this launch angle off. So we're going to start with our opener strategy here today and talk about the big news that had to happen while we were on hiatus. Kimbrel and Keuchel finally signed.
Woo!
Woo! Well, Matt's all woo because one of the teams we did suggest would be interested in Craig Kimbrel, the Chicago Cubs, who Matt is familiar with, intimate with, did sign Kimbrel. They're giving him $10 million for this year, which is so prorated amount. $16 million next year, $16 million in 21. He's got an option for 22. Could be bought out for $1 million. Since this directly affects you specifically, how do you feel about the chicken wing closer over there? And I am mocking his
It's pretty accurate, actually.
Yeah, with the little wide arm. I will put on Instagram, which you'll probably see before you hear this. I'll mock Kimbrel's little wind-up. Matt, how do you feel about the acquisition of Kimbrel? We talked about that the Cubs desperately needed some relief to be a better team and be better positioned for a playoff run.
I think it's a great move. They have the third most blown saves on the year. And with him coming in, it pushes a lot of their other relievers, Strop, Cishek, Edwards Jr. farther down the innings, so Madden can put those better pitchers in better situations. And then always forgotten in all this situation is Brandon Morrow is still on their team.
Is he though?
He will be coming back eventually, which gives them a lot more options as well. They don't have a good lefty reliever at the moment, but I don't see how that's a bad move for the Cubs at all.
There'll be some options as these teams kind of die out. And now kind of talking to our National League East specialist, Ruben. Dallas Keuchel getting a prorated $13 million from the Braves, beating out the Yankees $11.5 million or so prorated amount, which...
How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that? At the time, was not desperately offended by it, but now that we have Jermon on the IL and Hap shit in the bed and Paxton still looking like he should be back on the IL, depth is definitely something that I wanted. Ruben is playing with a lightsaber that he found and blinding me. Ruben, put it away.
It's not a euphemism.
It's not a euphemism. He is taking his long sword at me. Depth was a problem in the Yankees rotation that I thought needed to be resolved. We went into it ad nauseum that in terms of just the cost versus having to give up prospects for somebody who might perform similarly, that Keuchel was probably their best bet. I don't think any of us had Keuchel really going to the Braves. I don't think that was something any of us really thought was going to happen.
But man, he's coming on at the right time. They've won 7 in a row, taking over first place in the East. I think he had one single A start, went 8 innings. Is that right?
Something like that. Yeah.
And he was asked just this past week, with the answer from the reporter expecting to be 3 weeks out. He said, "When are you going to make your start?" He said, "I expect it to be there Friday," which would be today. But I don't think he's going today.
No, he's not. He's not going today.
Yeah, but good start for him. Great time. I mean, the Braves look positioned to be the team to beat in the East right now.
Oh, absolutely. They're one of the... I don't think they're necessarily overtaking the Dodgers anytime soon in terms of the National League, but I know it's an obvious thing to say, but they're definitely positioned to have a good playoff run, definitely make it. I mean, it's a weekend at least, unexpectedly.
And under the assumption that Jay Bruce doesn't continue to put up Babe Ruth-like numbers
with the
Phillies, although he is playing in a kids' park.
I did just see that park. Part of the reason why we didn't have a show is I was in New York City for a Yankees-Red Sox game and then did visit Citizen Bank for the Phillies-Reds series where Bruce hit like a 2-run shot in that game.
Yeah? Was it an opposite fielder?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I do not remember. But Bruce.
That's what Jay Bruce is. Like, he's the kind of guy who hits 40 home runs in a year, or he has in the past. And you're like, hey, can you give me a specific moment that you recall? It's like, yeah, no.
He's a very unassuming power hitter.
It just kind of happened.
I think I might have been getting up to get. They had Shake Shack and Citizens Bank.
Oh yeah, with the 2-hour line.
Let me just say this: we are not endorsed by anyone, nor maybe will we ever. Yes. Shake Shack is amazing. If you have not had Shake Shack, it is strongly recommended.
Yes. Shake Shack, remember this in the future. We were on your team early.
We're always supportive. Shake Shack has unexpectedly probably the best chicken sandwich I've ever had.
My one regret was going to the Cubs-Mets playoff game a few years ago. Did not get Shake Shack.
But we were there at the same time. Those lines were outrageous.
It was not going to happen.
I've had Shake Shack twice in my life, and it was both times were in the LaGuardia Airport, I believe, and I was passing between flights like at 10:30 when they opened up. I was like, "Damn it, I'm getting in line right." Well, you don't have a line at 10:30,
no.
And that's how you handle it.
That's how you navigate the Shake Shack. So from this verbal dumpster fire to our, we did start a new segment 2 weeks ago called Dumpster Fire, where we're just going to call out dumpster fires in the league. My favorite dumpster fire in MLB, the Tampa Bay Rays. They started flash sales earlier this month to try and boost attendance. I don't remember if you were part of the show, Ruben, where we were discussing kind of the drop-off in attendance in the league. But the Rays, to the surprise of no one, have the 29th attendance in the league. They're
Who's 30th?
the Marlins. The Marlins are 30th in the league, dead last.
That's what would have been my guess.
Look at that Florida fan base coming through.
Hey, Florida's all about their baseball. The Tampa Bay Times reported that they started this $5 flash sale at the start of the month. $5 tickets for 5 home games. They wanted to sell
$5 for 5 home games.
Each home game.
Ticket.
Each ticket.
Okay, $25.
Yeah.
Did you see
That's
that
still
math?
really
No,
cheap.
you could buy it so $5 for a game.
Yeah.
It's extremely cheap. For the ticket sales for those 5 games, they only sold out 2.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay's good.
Tampa Bay and the Yankees are back and forth for first in the AL East. It's not like Tampa Bay's garbage. They're a great team. You know, as much as I'm mocking them and their lights out stadium in terms of, well, they had a major.
Tropic, I've never been.
Do you happen to know what the games were? Because I can only assume that they weren't fellow AL East competitors, because I know that when the Yankees and the Sox go there, they fill it up with most of their fans.
It's probably like the Angels or A's.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's some sort of West Coast trip.
But that's why you want to do that, to get people out there. But they've been falling off by the thousands for the past, I think, 5 years. They've just been, it's been crazy. Is it, and I'm asking this not in a rhetorical way, but legitimately asking, do you think it is just the Florida in general can't support baseball? Is it because the Trop is a literal like circus with its freaking ridiculous dome and garbage field, or is it just the particular area the stadium's in? What do you guys think that nobody goes to Rays games despite the fact that they're an excellent team? Ruben, I'll start you off there.
First thing that comes to mind is transplants. A lot of Eastern people go down there and they have no rooting interest. They don't have like an indigenous rooting interest. Probably the first time in a baseball podcast that somebody said indigenous rooting interest. But I don't think that they probably just do not have the ability or have cultivated a fan base that is devoted. And I think it has to do with all the I think transplants. I mean, the only Rays fan that I can think of any notoriety whatsoever is Dick Vitale.
I didn't know Dick Vitale was a Rays fan. I didn't know the Rays had fans, but that's...
Yeah, Dickie V, and he's still alive, right? He is alive.
We are not going to kill Dickie V off too soon. Gabe's has the mad Google fingers right now, so I feel like he's trying to pick something up.
I'm just trying, because I remember when they went to the World Series back in, it was 2008 now or something?
Yeah.
A while ago. I'm trying to think, was the attendance that good in 2008?
It was not.
No,
even when they went to the World Series. So
they averaged like 17,000 fans over on average. I'm being redundant. In 2014, I believe.
I believe even in the World Series, they if I remember correctly, they closed off sections of the upper deck.
Yeah, to try and push.
So I'm looking at so I have their their list of attendance from when they came in 1998. 1998 was the highest because it was their first year. They had 2.5 million fans. It was 7th out of 14th in the American League.
Wow.
Since that time, they've either been second to last or last in attendance, except for 2010 of all years, which was 2 years after they went to the World Series. So, as Ruben said, there's probably not been a huge demand for a team down there, even in their inaugural league. I mean, you think of teams when they have expansion teams, that's usually their best year unless they're like really good afterward. Yep. Which that was their best year. They've had not been stellar lights out teams, but they've had some decent teams since then.
They have, and I'm saying this is strictly my opinion. I'm not pulling facts anywhere. I've been to the Trop. I've been to the Trop for Rays Yankees. The location is not good. I think if it was in St. Pete proper, it would probably draw more fans.
So where is it exactly compared to?
It's, God, I don't remember exactly.
Is it difficult to get to or a bad section of town?
It's not a great section of town, and I don't think in terms of transportation that it's the best situated.
That's the White Sox
but the
problem.
Yankees get great attendance in there in the Bronx.
Yeah, but it's easy to get to.
That's a dig. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Flushing man. The stadium is an eyesore. It has random power outages. The ball, you could hit a pop-up and it could bounce off a beam and be a double or a triple. Like, it's a joke. I'm not saying the Rays themselves are a joke. They're, like I said, an excellent team. They do so much with, spending $5 a person. But the stadium is just... I'm not saying it would be a cure-all. I'm not positioning that, but
yeah, well, I mean the Marlins have a great stadium
now.
I mean, it's nice.
It's nice. There's a lot going on in that stadium.
That is in my opinion, and I know we're talking Florida to Florida.
Yeah,
I was there when the Marlins opened that stadium because they opened against the Yankees actually. And
with the pinwheel over in center field or whatever it is.
I was there their first game and when they had the grand opening.
But isn't it a home run on the first pitch, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was.
But I think the difference in that is there's great amenities. I mean, the Marlins Park, I think, is easy to get to if I remember. It's not in a great section of town, but the Dolphins and Heat are priorities in Miami for the transplants.
But even the Dolphins don't get great attendance.
No.
The Heat got great attendance when LeBron was there, and obviously they had superstar power in Dwayne Wade for a while.
But if
they had Dwayne Wade, well, that's getting out of that. Yeah.
If you're a Marlins fan, right?
Yeah.
If you're a Marlins fan and the team, yes, we're sorry first of all, but your team constantly rebuilds and gets rid of any star power, why would you care?
Yeah.
What buy-in do you have as a fan to care?
But Tampa Bay is invested in their team. They're doing well.
But right, that's my point.
Okay.
It's two different problems, even though they're in the same state.
That's the owners though too. Miami's owners said all this. They built up the stadium. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna make this new stadium. We're gonna build up the team. We're gonna spend a lot of money on it.
And they screwed out the taxpayers. And then Derek Jeter shipped off anybody that they loved and fired everyone from the front office that was like long-term Marlins face of the team.
Is there something to be said for like in Tampa St. Pete area? It's a big-ish city, but it's not like a huge density population like a Philadelphia, Boston, New York. So is there something to be said that they've got great weather all year long and plenty of things to do, and that could be competing for the interest of a team as well?
Absolutely, but anything is competing for the interest in the team. I just think that the area they're in, the quality of the stadium comparative to other states, and I don't mean just baseball, but in terms of amenities and things,
sure,
that is a barrier to entry to want to go there. It's not in a great area. It's an eyesore, and there's just, why would you want to sit in this? I'm sorry, I don't have a better phrase. Shithole when you could go do something else in the area.
I have ideas for a flash sale that could really drive attendance.
I don't really.
No, Ruben, no. So
put your lightsaber away.
We're gonna go from that into a different type of face-to-face. So the other day, the Dodgers' Max Muncy took Madison Bumgarner deep into the bay or cove or whatever is out there.
He murdered that ball.
He absolutely murdered that ball. But I do want to kind of set this up because even before that happened, Mad Bum was going nuts on the umpire over balls and strikes, so he was already feeling frisky. And then Muncy took him deep, and I guess he eyed that baseball a little too long. And Mad Bum was just kind of going off and just go around the bases. That is my old man Madison Bumgarner voice. It's excellent. To which, and I'm not getting this verbatim, and I apologize, Max Muncy basically said, well, if you don't like me looking at it, why don't you just go fish it out of the ocean?
That's pretty close to verbatim, actually.
It's fairly close. Apparently, Max Muncy is not a geographical whiz, because it's not the ocean.
You can forgive him for that.
I can.
Heat of the moment.
I do think that's an excellent comeback. I want to know sides-wise, and kind of set it up as this. Is Madison Bumgarner kind of old crotchety man for saying this, or do we understand his position, or is Max Muncy being arrogant about this? Like, how do you feel about like the bat flips and the admiring the bomb, or the pitcher going nuts? Like back in the day, like Bob Gibson would have probably broken his face in with the baseball the next to the bat. But we're not in that era anymore. So I'll give my piece. But Matt, what do you think about situations like this, just in general?
I think you said it. We're not in that era anymore. I think the game is changing. I think you have these young players. They're very emotional. They get very into it. It's becoming slowly a part of the game. The bat flips, the theatrics, the not showboating, but just like being very emotional about what you're doing. And yeah, it's the middle of June. I mean, it's not like a playoff game or anything like that. You probably don't have to be watching a baseball fly off like that. So I can understand Bumgarner's position. That's when he's trying to pitch and do the best he can, he gets a ball that's murdered off of him. Probably don't want to see the player kind of showboating afterward, but I can also see Muncy's side where it's now part of the game. You did your job really well. You're gonna admire it a little bit. It's not like he just stood there and watched it for 5 seconds. He looked for a second, kind of walked over. He didn't go overboard with it.
No,
it's slowly becoming part of the game.
It wasn't a 10-foot in the air bat flip, Jose Bautista.
It's not a Bautista-like bat flip or anything like that. I think it's part of the game, and I can see both sides, but it is what it is.
Ruby Rabies.
I would love I would love to be the fly on the wall when Bumgarner is calling like AT&T customer service and he's going through 18 million automated voice prompts before he gets to the person, and when he finally gets to a live person, what he's like. Because I feel like he's the kind of person who would reach through the phone and pull that guy and strangle them if they could. It was not egregious. He stared at it. I mean, it's Bumgarner. He's known for this. Yes. And he's such a hick, allegedly. I feel like he belongs in the Southeast somewhere. Not in Florida, because nobody would give a damn.
Tampa Bay, they could probably use him.
I mean, put him in Atlanta, he belongs. He's different. He's a different cloth. Cut from a different cloth, and I loved Muncy's response. I love because he kind of told him off. He started running around the bases, and then he circled third, and he looked back over, and he jawed him again. And I'm like, good for you.
Here's my perspective of it, and it's not going to be anything groundbreaking from what you guys have said. I like both.
Yeah.
I like that there's admiring the home runs. I like bat flips. I like emotion because you don't want a sterile game. You want, like, for your younger audience to think that something is cool because you want to build new fans and new generations. And it's nice, the fans, the kids playing can mimic it when they're playing with their friends and stuff like that, I think that's good for the game. Legitimately, I think it's good for the game. I also like Madison Bumgarner being like a stickler for, the old school way and, kind of being the guardian, crotchety old man of how it was in, 1886. That's cool too. I like players having these different personalities and things, because if everyone in the league was like Madison Bumgarner or everybody in the league was brash and egregious, you wouldn't have personalities. And I think we've beaten it, into the ground that baseball needs personalities to thrive, to have fans, to care. And so when we talk about or see things like this, it's good for the game of baseball. It is legitimately good for the game of baseball.
And in fairness to Bumgarner, I think he's probably pissed at himself, and
he
doesn't know how to effectively outlet it.
So he's going to yell at the player.
Yeah, so he yells at the guy who's responsible for the thing that he's pissed off about. But he's pissed off. It's a reflection of how much he's pissed off at himself.
We all do it.
Yeah.
We all yell at Max Muncy.
So you're taking the Harper approach of making baseball fun again.
Yes, make baseball fun again. We could probably go off on a side tangent, but I will.
We'll move on.
We're gonna move on with the close of the show, bringing out the closer here, and it's a topic that has been just kind of permeating through the news recently. That was David Ortiz, unfortunately, getting shot at a Dominican Republic nightclub. Allegedly, the shooters were paid $8,000 accumulatively in will be the accumulative of American dollars. 8 men and 1 woman. One woman are in custody, and I got this all up from CNN. And the accused gunman actually said that he thought David Ortiz. He did not mean to shoot David Ortiz. That the mark he had been given was wearing. He was just given a description of the clothing the mark was wearing, and that's where the confusion came into play. I'm gonna turn this over. I'm gonna turn this over to our all things Latin correspondent, Ruben.
I'm sorry.
I haven't read your CNN account, but I like. Well, first of all.
All things Latin.
First of all, I mean, this is awful. So
it is.
We're laughing. We're having a good time. So it's awful. But I get a kick out of the gunman saying, "Oh no, he wasn't my target. I was actually somebody else."
Can you please use your proper pronunciations when mocking the gunman?
This was not my target. What I wanted to do was to kill someone else. Can I go home now? It's a terrible story. One thing that hasn't, so it's a rumor, and it's a rumor from a lot of people from the Dominican Republic, people talking, and apparently from news outlets down there, and talking to several witnesses or people involved. I think, there's like a drug lord called the Surgeon who has not been apprehended yet. And the alleged rumor... Alleged! is that David Ortiz had been sleeping with the surgeon's wife and had been warned many times that there will be repercussions for such events. And if there is a drug lord named the Surgeon, that sounds like somebody you don't want to mess with. So, I'm glad Ortiz is... The Dominican Republic's not a safe place altogether, if you guys are following anything in the news right now. Hey, so, public service announcement. Go to Puerto Rico instead. You're welcome.
Are the lights on yet?
Yeah, they are on now.
That is Ruben's home country.
So yeah, I'm done.
That's why he's the Latin expert.
That is thank you, our Latin correspondent, Ruben.
Did you guys hear Guillermo, the guy who does the Jimmy Fallon show? His sidekick is Andy Richter, if you will.
Yeah, I know who that is.
He was doing interviews at the NBA Finals, and he goes up to players from the Warriors and to Steve Kerr, and he goes, "Are you excited for a threesome?" And Steve Kerr goes, "What?" He goes, "A threesome. If you win this year, it'll be 3 in a row." And he goes, "No, that's a 3-peat. But I'm excited for a threesome as well."
I think that's the note we want to go out on today. We thank everyone for listening, and as always, don't go to the Dominican Republic. Go to Puerto Rico instead.
From all 3 of us in here.
Yeah. The threesome.
The threesome. The threesome will be back next week. Stay tuned.